Siyata Dishmaya, Baruch Hashem, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. We're going to be learning about what is the Midah of Hod. We talked about it a little bit, and now we're going to get deeper in explaining what exactly is this Midah. It's explained in the rabbis and the Arizal and Rabbeinu HaRashash that the light that's revealed in Hanukkah is the light of the Midah of Hod. In B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to understand what is the Pnimiyut, what is the internal aspect of this Midah of Hod, in order to understand properly what is the special work that we have to do in this holy time. Hod, the idea is, and the way that it is applied is, to admit and recognize and be grateful for the true inner aspect. Midat Hod hi ma'amidot ha'ma'asiyot. We have what's called the intellectual traits, Chochmah, Bina, and Dat. That's in your thought, it's in your intellect. And then you have emotional traits, which is called Chagat, Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet. And then we have the action-oriented traits, which are Hod, Yesod, and Netzach, and Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut, right? So Hod is from these more action-oriented traits. And the job there is to take when I'm making a decision to do something, I'm going to apply something into the world. I haven't yet done it, but I'm making a decision. I'm going to go learn Torah. I'm going to move house. I'm going to do whatever it is. And we want to do that action and to bring a light down into that action, that action should be in accordance to the truth. Okay? That I'm about to do something in this world, and I want that my action that I'm going to be bringing into this world should have truth into it, right? And it shouldn't just be some kind of act that is completely separate of truth. So comes the midah of Hod, comes this attribute of Hod, right? And it says, okay, you're about to do this action, because Hod is an action-oriented midah. And because you're going to do an action right now, make sure that it's aligned with the truth, the most internal truth possible. Because any action that a person does is an outcome of a thought and of an emotion. And the thought and the emotion cause a person to make a decision to make an action. Sometimes this decision is not so aligned with internal truth. Right? And there is where the power of Hod comes in, and its job is to take that decision and bring it more into alignment with the internal truth of everything. For example, a physical example of this, a person bought a table for his house, right? And now he wants to take the table and elevate it into the house. He has to go up the stairs and he has to bring this table into his house. But he's not successful since the stairwell is very narrow and the table is very big. In his thoughts and in his emotions, he needs the table. And he's pushing it all the way, and he wants to make sure that this table is going to make it into his house, because he needs the table. Specifically, the midah of Netzach, which is the other side, the right side of what Hod is. The midah of Netzach says, perseverance, tenacity, holy stubbornness, principles. I'm going to get this in there. Right? And I have to be successful in getting this table into my house. And by way of that, the person could even break walls or break the table. Right? The main thing is to do what is important to do, which is get this table inside my house. My wife said, if I don't move the table into the house, I'm in trouble. I don't want to be in trouble, I'm going to make everything happen. Even though on one side it's good to be tenacious, it's good to have perseverance. Right? Because there's no point in really giving up. You shouldn't have despair. But on the other side, you can only be stubborn and tenacious and perseverant in a proper measure. That you don't break the table or break the walls. And then that's when comes in the midah of Hod and says, let's admit the truth. Right? Hod, Hodayah, Todah. Like let's nodeh, let's admit the truth. What is impossible to do right now, no matter what? In the situation of getting a table into the house, what's completely impossible? I can't put it sideways. I can't have the lugs connected. Right? A whole bunch of things that you could start a process of elimination of what's possible and what's impossible. And that I'm not going to do. And what is possible? Right? First eliminate. Look at the situation and say, okay, what's possible right now? What's impossible for me right now? What is Hashem showing me? And what is Hashem allowing me to do? And then the person can put in effort, an extra effort, but only in a proper way that is fitting the truth that is being revealed to me. The truth of reality. So Midat HaHod comes in order to take my decision making and align it with the actual truth. That's a physical example, right? Of moving a table into a house. What's a more spiritual example? A person wants to do an action for the sake of heaven. He wants to write a book in order to help Jews come closer to God, right? He wants to give classes, he wants to give money, he wants to, whatever it might be. And he's putting in this extra effort. But he has all these different preventions and obstacles and delays. On one side, he's not allowed to give up. He's not allowed to have despair. And he has to put in effort. On the other side, a person has to admit the truth. That Hashem is the one that's ruling the world. Hashem is causing everything to happen. And Hashem's the final decision maker of whether that book's going to be edited and put out into the world or not, and when. And sometimes from so many desires, such a desire to do good, even if they're good desires, a person forgets this internal truth that God runs the world. And everything is done by Him. And if he forgets that, then so to say, he's blemishing his emunah. He's making a mark on his emunah. And all of his actions are not going to be proper then. But comes Midat HaHod, rectified in proper way, and says, I know clearly that there's no point in pressing the time and pushing too much and too hard. I have to put in a normal amount of effort and to let Hashem manage the rest of the process. So too, Midat HaHod comes and checks my actions, that they should be aligned with the truth and that they shouldn't go away from the truth. And then we have branches of Hod. Since Midat HaHod, the idea is internal beauty that is revealed externally. Like it says, Hod v'Hadar, glory and splendor, right? Was her garments. Hod and Hadar, they both have these letters Hey Dalet, right? But Hod is the internal beauty, and when it's revealed outwardly, that's Hadar. Because true beauty is an expression of an outcome of a more internal, lofty beauty. And it's like when you recognize Hod, when you recognize internal beauty that's revealed outwardly, you're admitting that there's something here that's more internal. You're admitting that there's a deeper level of beauty that is being revealed outwardly right now. Another additional branch to Hod is gratitude. Recognizing that someone else did something to you and admitting that and giving them thanks. Because when a person recognizes internally that everything has a source, then he doesn't ignore that and he doesn't ignore the giver. Rather, he says thank you and he holds that good thing in high favor. Right? You recognize, I owe you one. You helped me out. You hooked it up, right? I have to be grateful to you for whatever it is. Because I know that the source of that benefit that I received came from you. So the work of Hod is to recognize that everything has come from Hashem and that we want that revealed in the world. When it comes to our Avodat Hashem, when it comes to our service of Hashem, we have to recognize and be grateful and admit that the true internal reaction, the true internal reality is that everything is done only by way of Hashem. And a person has no power to do anything himself. On a deeper sense, we have to admit that there's no true reality besides Hashem. Because Hashem is the vitality and the reality of everything in the creation. And He's giving existence to everything at any given moment. And the creation itself has no reality by itself separate from Hashem. Rather, the Creator Himself, blessed be He is everything, ve'en od milvado, there's nothing besides Him. And all of the actions that are brought out into this world of Midat HaHod, is that there's such a recognition that the truth is so recognized by me that no matter what happens to us, straight away I'm going to give thanks and recognize the truth that is Hashem that did it, and I'm not going to get angry at the person that's coming to annoy me, and I'm not going to have anger, I'm not going to be in pain, and I'm not going to be scared of anything. I'm going to know that Hashem is behind everything and it's for the ultimate good. And also, any actions that I have to do in the world, I'm going to do them with a simple, natural reaction and recognition that the real doer, the real being that's causing all of this to happen, is Hashem, blessed be He. And when this is not it's not some kind of thing that I have to have in my head, right? Hashem's the real doer, and I know that that's the truth up here. It has to be an emotion that is felt when I'm going to do an action, that is guiding me and escorting me through my whole entire life and every action that I go to do, in a way that every movement and every motion that I make in this world is coming from this deep knowledge that I have, that I feel in my heart as well, that my actions are also just a recognition and a revelation that Hashem is the true doer, and I'm a tool to reveal it in this world. This is Hod. So this is how you rectify the whole entire creation. The main sin of Adam, the first man, was a blemish in the midah of Hod, the blemish in the midah of this true recognition. He pushed time, like the Arizalik said. Meaning, he wasn't nullified to wait for the instructions of Hashem. Rather, he wanted to rectify the whole entire world and to do the things that he did. Therefore, that's why he ate from the fruit, right? There's those that even say that God said, don't eat it now, but he was going to let him do it on Shabbat. He ate it right before, on the 6th day, right before Shabbat. If he would have just waited for Shabbat to come in, he would have been able to eat from the fruit with no damage. But he had to push it. He said, I need to do it. I need to rectify the whole entire world. And he made a blemish by way of that. And the second that it's about me and that I need to do and I'm the one that's doing, then you're already blemishing this internal beauty. And this is what destroyed the temple as well. Because the Pigam and Hod, the worst thing is there is that you're forgetting the internal work. You forget Hashem. So you do a whole bunch of actions. You have a temple. You learn Torah, right? But you forget Hashem. You leave Hashem out of the picture. And it could be that a person will go everything according to halacha. But he's making such a blemish because he's forgetting the reality of Hashem, and he's so invested in himself and his own success. And the truth is that a person needs to constantly aspire to want very, very much so to do the right thing. But when it comes to actuality, he has to act with the recognition that Hashem is showing him what to do in life, and Hashem is the one that's really doing it, whether we're talking about the instructions of the Holy Torah, meaning halacha, or whether we're talking about regular things in the reality of your life. You want to go do a certain thing, and Hashem has another plan for you. He says, no, not going to happen today, right? You can't just push all the time. You have to give in to the reality that Hashem's handing you. And you have to say, like this, Ani modeh ala yichud, I am admitting to the oneness of Hashem. And by way of this recognition, when I come to do my actions, I'm going to do them from a recognition that Hashem is the one that's doing everything, and I'm only expressing this outwardly. And when a person lives like this, he wants to do everything, and he wants to do everything properly, but he wants to do it with a recognition that Hashem is the true doer, and I'm just revealing Him and His will, then you won't be broken when you're not successful, and when you don't get to do what you plan to do. And if you understand and you see that the will of Hashem is that right now you should calm down, and right now you should take it down a notch, and that He doesn't want you to do anything right now, then that's His will, right? And then you won't push the time, and you won't go above and beyond, and it has to be this way, and it has to go like that. Chayav la'asot ma sheratziti. I have to do what I plan to do. It's Hashem that wants you to do anything. So what are you pushing so much? Because even if your desire is really for the sake of heaven, you have a kosher will, right? You want to do the right thing. You have to recognize that Hashem runs the world, right? And you have to do everything according to the will of Hashem, and that's what Hod is. להודות להשם יתברך, הוא העושה והוא הכל, ואני איני צד בעניין. Hashem, He's the one that's ruling the world, He's doing everything, and me, I have no say in the matter. I'm not even a part of the decision making. And even though I'm filled with longing and yearning to do the right thing, and I want to serve Hashem, in the end all be all, my desire to do that is to do, what I really want to do is not just to be an actor in this world. I want to do the will of Hashem. And whatever He causes to happen in the world, that's His will, that should be my will. It's not about more than that, right? So this is what this is what the blemish of the Greeks was. What was the blemish of the Greeks? What were the Greeks all about? Physicality. Right? What's Greek philosophy? It's all about, the main thing is to look at the chitzoniut, the external reality that you can see with your eye. Right? And to oppose anything that is revealing an inner truth, an inner truth that is hidden from the eye. And since Hod only allows us to do things that are giving off the light of the truth, the perception of the Greeks was the exact opposite. And their way was to only focus on the external revelations without looking in at the internal truth. And without understanding if there's any kind of internal reality in what I'm doing. That's why they did things that don't reveal anything beyond what they actually were. Sports, theater, right? It's all about this world. It's all about the body, right? They used to wrestle nakedly. See, it's not a lot of times in gladiators, it's known that a lot of Jews were gladiators, right? A lot of Jews were gladiators. They fought lions and tigers, and they won. Not every time, but they won. How does a man beat a tiger? There must be some because externally it makes no sense. The tiger weighs a couple 100 pounds. Right? The human weighs maximum a Jewish person that was held in captivity in Rome, maximum 200 pounds. Maximum, if that. Most of us are very skinny and not that tall, right? So we're talking a little bit under 200 pounds. How in the world did he beat a tiger? There's an inner strength there that is not revealed. There's an inner truth that's what came out, and they didn't like that. And they said whoever's seeking out the truth, they said that they are seeking out the truth. But the tool that they're using to seek out the truth was the tools of man, human intellect. That they're very low, they're very limited. And this is the root of their problem. Because if you're looking out the truth of the creation with tools of a creation, it's impossible to get to the truth. Because the true truth, the internal truth is, everything is godliness. And therefore, in order to get to that truth, you have to use godly tools. That is the Holy Torah, and the words of the prophets, and the words of the tzaddikim, the righteous of Israel. So the main thing is emunah, and to understand that we are here in this world busy with things that are very godly. And therefore we have to understand that a person has no ability to get to this truth by himself. And you have to give in to godly revelations. They also blemish the branches of Hod. And therefore, by way of them, they gave so much importance and value to things that don't even have real value, like external beauty, body power, right, physical strength. And they're things that are completely false, and they don't show any true internal truth, right? A man's body. You have a lot of bodybuilders that are very weak people, right? You have a lot of beautiful people that are very ugly inside. So too, they gave thanks and they gave honor to people that have power in their actions without looking if they're really internally deserving of that. Inside, how are they as a person? And the Chashmonaim came to rectify Hod. And it was revealed by way of their actions that they went out to war. The Chashmonaim went out to war, that there was no chance that they, according to Teva, according to nature, according to external reality, that they would win the war. And by way of this, they admitted that everything really is godly, the godly truth of this world. And they made a declaration that there's no such thing as nature. The Chashmonaim went out and said there's no such thing as nature. Everything is just Hashem. He's the one that's doing everything. And there's no difference between whether we're the smallest army in the world fighting, or the success of us as the smallest army, or the success of the biggest army in the world, the Greeks. At the time, that's what it was, the smallest army in the world versus the biggest army in the world. Makes no difference. And they went with this ideology until the end. And when they just went out to war, what were they declaring? Just the fact that they picked up arms to fight the Greek army, they're making a declaration. Human action is nothing besides revelation of a higher power. And therefore, man's actions actually have no difference in the thing. It doesn't benefit, and it doesn't make worse. It doesn't hinder and it doesn't benefit. A man's action in this world does nothing. It's just a revelation of the will of Hashem. Because nothing's going to be done really by the way of the hands of man. Hashem, that He's the leader and He rules over the whole entire world and He's doing everything, and besides Him there is no such power, there is no such thing as reality without Hashem. A person is just the vehicle for that expressed outwardly. Hashem decides what's going to be. Right? So the person, a human being, has no power himself to do anything. Hashem is the only true power, and therefore, by way of hod, by way of recognizing that, they recognize with clarity that the Greeks have no power themselves, and they are mamash nothing. They like as if they don't exist at all. And by way of this, they rectified hod in the days of Hanukkah, and by way of their power, everyone in Am Yisrael has the ability to merit, to really acquire hod by way of these holy lights. To recognize that this world is nothing without the inner reality. In the war of the Hashmonaim, hopefully our soldiers are hearing this message somehow, we got to get it to them. Our enemies have no power, right? They have no power either, but the enemies also have no power. It's just a revelation of Hashem, and Hashem wants truth, therefore Am Yisrael will always be more successful. In the war of the Hashmonaim, right? Even though they had this netzach, right? They had this victory in it, right? That's already the side of the creation, the side of the human being, that he decides with, what were they saying? They were saying pretty much, we're being ruled over by Greeks, we have to fight. We have to go out, we have to get this foreign ruler off of our backs, right? We have to do it, we have to go out. So that's the side of netzach, that's the side of the tenacity and the holy perseverance, and the victorious side, that I'm not going to be ruled over something that's coming against my emunah and coming against my way as a Jew. But the main rectification that they did was with hod. Because when they admitted the truth, the inner truth, then they nullified the power of the Greeks, and then everything for them was like nothing. And on a deeper side, hod is a branch of gvura, of might. And gvura is the root of all of creations. So the hod is a recognition that nullifies the reality of a creation that opposes truth. Like we learned on Rosh Hashanah about Tishrei. When you feel that you are a creation and now it's all about you, you're negating the truth. That is the root of creation. You're meant to ascend from beyond that, we're multiplicity and there were a whole bunch of individuals, mighty individuals, and to realize, no, you have no might at all, you have no ability to do anything, it's all about Hashem. So to here, the Greeks were opposing the truth. They were the power of creation, the power of man. But that's not the truth, that's not the internal truth. That's just this world. This world was created with Gvura. But that's not the real reality of truth. And after they nullified, the Hashmonaim nullified the external reality that is not good, the external reality that seems to be separate from Hashem, then they use Netzach, which is power by way of godly recognition, right? That Hashem's the one that's fighting, Hashem's the one that's going to be Minatzach, that He's going to be dominant and victorious. But the main thing was that they only used their Netzach by way of Hod, right? Hod and Netzach is right leg and left leg. I can only be perseverant, I can only get the table into my house if I recognize the situation that's in front of me. That Hashem has said the staircase is too narrow and the table is too wide. So maybe I need to take it out and I need to bring it through the window. Or maybe I need to take apart the table. Maybe I have to do something else. The table can get into my house, but only if I recognize the true reality that's in front of me right now. So yes, they were victorious by way of Netzach, but only by way of, first things first, recognizing that all externalities in this world are nullified to the inner truth, which is Hashem runs the world. And we have to rectify this midah of Hod. We have to rectify the inner reality of Hod. Because even though for sure every single Jew believes in Hashem and is even willing to give over his own soul for the sanctity and the unity of Hashem, even though that's the case, Hod has been blemished and is lacking a recognition and a feeling that everything is from Hashem and Hashem does everything. Right? But the person, the individual person, this individual creation, is just a tool and just a vehicle to release this and reveal this in the world. But when you're coming to do an action in this world, it's not so easy to feel this completely, that you're not doing anything, that it's Hashem doing it and not you. It's very hard. What's the reason? Since we live in a physical world, that there, the Creator is hidden and is covered in garments and all these different things. The whole entire world is just the garments and garments covering up the reality of Hashem. So whoever's looking at the external happenings in the world, war here, war there, anti-Semitism, all these different things that are going on in the world, the external reality that's in front of our eyes, that can make him think, God forbid, that there's nature. God forbid Hamas could actually affect us. God forbid all these things could actually happen and do anything to us. And on top of that, the Yetzer Hara tries to confuse us, and he wraps up our lack of emunah inside different names like effort, right? Or there's a natural way that Hashem runs the world and you have to listen to the doctors or whatever, right? There's a natural, there's nature. And from these things, which are true in a way, right? But they're not the ultimate truth. It brings the person down completely. And now he's already going to start running after effort. He's going to run after, I have to put in effort. If I don't put in effort, nothing's going to happen. Hashem cannot make anything happen if I don't do it. If I don't, as if your effort really does anything, as if it's really beneficial, like we learned in the class on bitachon and ishtadlut, right? Your trust in Hashem and your effort. You're commanded to do effort, but it doesn't mean it's actually having an outcome in what's going to be in life. No, you're just in a world that you're commanded to do effort, and you have to. It's part of halacha, right? But you can't think for 1 second, without my effort, nothing could be done in this world. That's not true, right? And then you start to fall down into feeling these ideas of nature, as if there's nature, as if there's power to yourself and to this whole entire world. And you forget that your ishtadlut, your effort, is a commandment, it's an obligation, but it doesn't have a benefit. You're commanded to put in effort, but it doesn't mean it's going to change anything, right? And that teva, nature, is how Hashem rules the world. It's not that nature exists and it's separate from Hashem. Hashem chooses to rule the world through nature. With complete wonders, ashgacha pratit, divine providence into your life that we don't understand. There's no power to teva, to nature as itself. Like the Chazon Ish writes in his book, a famous book, Emunan Bitachon, teva hu aratzon ayoter matmid shel haboreh. What is nature? It is the more consistent and frequent desire of Hashem in the world. I mean, what is nature? It's the constant will of Hashem. Hashem can have a different will, but the one that's a constant, that's like, so to say, the autopilot desire of Hashem. It's still Hashem's will. It's still Hashem leading the world, but it's the code that He wrote to read, like your heart breathes. You decide to move your hand up and down, but you don't decide to pump your heart or not. Is it not your will that your heart should pump? For sure it's your will that your heart should pump. You want your heart to pump. Did you do anything about it? No. Just your side that you didn't kill yourself is your decision to keep your heart pumped, right? So too, Hashem wants this world to exist, so He created what's called nature. It's still His desire. It's still His will. So even though for sure a Jew believes with the whole heart, he has to stand on this guard, that he shouldn't fall into the fact of thinking that the creations have power themselves to do anything. Even not on a partial level. To recognize and to admit to the whole truth until the end. Hashem does everything. And the light of Hanukkah puts this truth into us. This holy holiday, which is rooted in Hod, right? It has the ability to drill this into us even more. Until we feel it completely in our hearts. and we start to live it out, and we recognize and to see, and everything that happens to us in our life, even with as much as we're doing in the world, as much effort as we have to do, how everything is only done by way of Hashem, and He's the only true power. And to be successful in revealing in all the finer details and all of the things that go on in my life and that are going on in the whole entire world, the oneness of Hashem. And to see how Hashem Yitbarach, Hashem blessed be He, is doing everything. He's the only true doer. There's no reality besides Him. Because by way of the light of Hanukkah, it's coming to teach us not only that this world is concealing the Creator, even more so, it reveals Hashem in the deepest way possible. The recognition and the reality that Hashem is the only true power. The same world that can conceal Hashem, and you can think nature, nature, nature. If you really understand it, you'll start to see how it's all just revelations of Hashem. And everything that is giving off this light of the internal godly light, it's not going to conceal Hashem anymore. If you can find how to reveal Hashem like that, you're not going to conceal Hashem anymore like that. So to say, you're going to be able to see how Hashem is hidden inside of it. And when a Jew merits to get to this level, right, with all of his inner sides, all of his inner guts, then Bezrat Hashem, he will come out of the holiday of Hanukkah and out of this month of Kislev with a true acquisition for the whole entire year. And he'll be able to look at the world in a different eye and to see how everything that happens is just existing by way of the power and decision of Hashem. And you're going to live with true emunah in the yichud, in the oneness of Hashem, to recognize clearly that Hashem is the only doer in the whole entire world. He is the creator, He is the leader, He is the one that's doing everything. But this yichud, the idea of yichud, doesn't belong only to Hod, but it has a point that's strengthened and sharpened in Hod. Because the idea of yichud is the understanding and the recognition that everything is Hashem. Oneness, right? We, again, like we say all the time, we don't believe in one God, we believe in a God that is one. Right? There are no other gods. There is no other power. It's only Hashem. But what's strengthened when it comes to Hod? That only Hashem does it. Simply put, there's nothing besides Hashem. This recognition brings a person to nullify himself to Hashem. Because from that understanding that it's all Hashem, the true reality of what's really going on in this world, that a person's not doing anything, then he goes into complete nullification and tranquility and calmness, and he does everything that he has to do in this world with a settled heart. Tranquility, simcha, joy. He's at peace. And he's not chasing to do anything in this world, because he knows everything is done by Hashem anyway. He's the one that decides what's going to be. So why do I have to put an extra effort where He doesn't clearly want me to put effort? And this tranquility, this calmness that you have, it also has a danger to it. That God forbid you shouldn't fall into the point of saying, I don't have to do anything at all. Because either way, Hashem's the only true doer. And what benefit is there for me to put in effort? And this is a huge, huge mistake. Because Hashem created the world, and He created creations so that they should do actions in this world in order to reveal His oneness. Meaning, there's this unique thing that's inside this world. Different than all of the supernal worlds of angels and anything else. And that is that creations do have a certain level of action, of ability to make actions. And they do go out in the world and they cause and they act and they make things happen. And then it appears as if they exist by themselves separate from Hashem. There's some kind of individual entity that has the power to do. And that the godly reality is concealed. And then within that concealment, it appears as if humans run the show and they're the ones deciding what to do. If from there we can reveal that everything is Hashem and He's the only true reality, and that all of creations are only doing actions according to His desire, according to His will, and not as something separate, then this is the highest level of revelation of Hashem's oneness. This is the most beautiful way to reveal it. That if you really get to that inner point of, yes, it seems like the human being is doing it, but it's all Hashem. And if you're really paying attention here, the rabbinical holidays are Hanukkah, Tu B'Shvat, and Purim, which is the next cycle that we're going into. Hod, Yesod, Netzach. Hod comes first, right? Then Yesod. Hod is recognition of Hashem. Yesod is connecting everything back to Hashem. And then comes Netzach, where it's the Jews being victorious and the Jews pushing in, and the power of the creation to do the work and to get everything done. But what's the whole idea of Purim? That Hashem is concealed within the actions of man. So we're starting the download now in the beginning of the darkness, and then when we get to the week before spring, we're already going to seem as if we're the ones doing it. We're the ones acting. Mordechai and Esther and the Jews defeated the Amalekim, and we went to war and we killed thousands of them. And Hashem's name is not mentioned once inside the whole entire story. How do we get to that level? Only if we first come through Hanukkah. Right? We have to come through here first. It is revealed in the deepest way that specifically by way of us being in this world and acting and doing as Hashem commanded us, that is how Hashem wanted to reveal His oneness in the world. From within the concealment, from within the darkness of the month of Kislev. And that's how we have to recognize the truth. Therefore, the days of Hanukkah, they're all in the weekdays. They're chol, they're not holidays that we can't drive, that we can't do, right? We have one Shabbat in there, but because it's 8 days. But the majority of the holiday is not some holiday that you can't drive, you can't do anything. And where do we light the Chanukiah? Down below, lower than 10 tefachim. A tefach is this measure, right? Take your hand, put it on the ground, and measure 10 of these. You don't get so high. You're meant to light below that, at least 3 off the ground, right? Between pretty much the 7 range, right? Within 3 off the ground, but lower than 10. Why do we light down there in a weekday at the darkest part of the year? Because this light is so strong that we're able to illuminate the complete concealments of this world and to reveal the oneness of Hashem within the actions of the creatures, within the human being's actions, that it, so to say, appears as if it's separate from Hashem. That's where we want to illuminate it. There's a lot here, but just to finish off with this. No, we're going to stop here for now. Mizat Hashem. Mizat Hashem Yitbarach.